Hi, my name is Shawn Shaler. This is my friend Chris Ford, aka YouTube's Objective Geek or Objective_Geek on Twitter, if you're interested. And we have taken a bit of a break, and I'm going to take all the blame for that because I've been moving into this new house and everything is still in shambles. But at least I have a computer this week, and I am excited to do another episode because football season is long since over, and I need stuff to watch in between episodes of Game of Thrones. So, hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great. Everything's good. Been pumping out some videos since the last time we've chatted to varying degrees of success, and they've all been fun. So yeah, doing good.
Thanks for not breaking up with me and just taking a break instead. I appreciate it. And happy.
I am at some point I am working on a collaboration with another YouTuber,
What?
but
Okay,
I'm
that's
actually just
actually
breaking
pretty
this
cool.
week.
Yeah. That's awesome. Somebody with some stuff out there we can watch.
Yeah. Well, I won't say it now because we're still working on it. So
Okay.
Mhm.
Nice. Well, congratulations. Uh, Not really related, but there's these two. I have these two cool rotating shelves back here. Those actually came from another YouTuber slash podcaster, but video game podcast here in Kansas City, and they're actually fairly popular. And he just spent a ton of money buying like actual video game shelves, and so I got these two cool rotating shelves that kind of remind me of like in a store. But anyway, I'm just trying to feel special. I just got some stuff from a guy. I'm not collaborating, but hey, that's pretty awesome. Um,
It's like when like a couple breaks up. It's like, oh yeah, I moved on. Got a new wife and stuff. I'm like, yeah. I met somebody too.
yeah, but the person you met, you're actually like with. I'm just like stalking some other guy with a different podcast, and so
Uh,
it's not nearly as cool, and it's way more creepy. But anyway, it's a good podcast. No, that's awesome. Actually, let's just click over there and talk about your upcoming videos. Oh, you know what? First, I probably did it out of order because I forgot. I realized we talked about
nah.
Comic Con last time, but I didn't show any pictures, and that felt like a miss. So I picked a few of my favorites here. We got some Dragon Prince characters down here who, honestly, in terms of costume work, like just to detail and difficult costumes, loved what they did. And then over here, of course, we've got middle-aged Aang. That guy has pulled it off very nicely. And then
Yes, he
Zuko
is.
and Katara looking great. And then I'll let you talk through your story here because I don't necessarily remember if you talked through the story of the creator of Static Shock last time. I don't know how much of that story you shared, but it's worth resharing.
Not sure I shared it last time. Not sure. But I
I'm not
dressed
sure
up
either.
as Static, or as some people refer to him, Static Shock. Although his name is Static. Anyway, this television show is called Static Shock. Had the great opportunity to meet Dennis Cowan, who is one of the co-creators of Static Shock, and it was an amazing opportunity to meet him. When I first got met him, he really wanted to take a picture and everything. He was like, man, people tell us that people don't dress up as Static, but I got proof now. And then and just got his autograph there. You went to a very cool panel with him, where he talked about really just his history in the industry and everything. A really really cool story about Prince, because not only
Yes.
did he not only did he co-create Static, he's done so much other great work in the comic industry. He did the pencils for this once in a lifetime Prince comic book that I do own. I got him to sign it. His story about Prince, long story short, Prince chose him to draw the comic book. His co-contributor and also the co-creator of Static Shock, Dwayne McDuffie, wrote the comic book. It's a great comic. Pretty much Prince invited them to go see the show. It was like a uh,
Like a private
uh,
showing of a
yeah, it
concert,
was a
sort
private
of.
it was a private showing for like kids or teenagers in some type of university. Like, it wasn't publicized or anything. Charity show, I guess, would be the cause. And then he invited them to more shows, and like they're just sitting front row, and it was just a great story about Prince, and I think also Dwayne McDuffie. Those two are kind of tied together a lot of times. And then later on in the day, towards the end of the day, I was like, all right, I got to go back to his stand. I got to get him to sign this Prince comic book that I have, because one thing in that story was really cool. And I go there, and before that, I went and bought a Static Shock action figure, which I think is this one here. If you can see it, you
Yeah, a
can't really
little
see it that
bit.
well. Yeah. So when I'm getting the stuff signed by him, I pulled out just to get my backpack and stuff straightened out. I pulled out the action figure, and he's like, "Oh, where'd you get the action figure at?" I was like, "Oh, I got it from somewhere over there." He's like, "I need to go get some. Can you show me where you got them from?" And one thing, this is Kansas City Comic Con, and this is the second year we've been there. I'm not sure really where the heck I even got this thing from.
It's not like huge by any means, but it's a very large convention center with identical looking rows. So
yes,
yeah, it's not huge, but it's still a little confusing.
Yeah. So I'm walking around the con dressed as Static, creator of Static, looking for an action figure of Static, and it was surreal to say the least. It was just really, really cool time, and I actually found him the action figure for him. It was just really great just to talk to him about the days of Milestone comics and everything, and just how it was in the industry, and just just how it was great collaborating with everybody. That was real cool. And then I showed him a video of my kids watching the cartoon Static Shock, and like my kids love the cartoon. And like in this video, like they're going crazy, they're singing a theme song and everything. He's like, "Oh man, yeah, send me that." So he gave me his number, and I sent it to him. So I have the phone number of like the co-creator of my top 3 comic book characters of all time. And like really, you might not even count the second one, which is Robin, which he's just a derivative of Batman. Batman's always number 1. Gotta be honest here.
Definitely, it doesn't even count.
But no, it was a great con. Just for that. I mean, the rest of the con was great too. Also, dressing as Static got a lot of attention. I mean, I don't go to cons to get attention, but I say that as a person who dresses up.
The effort to be appreciated for sure.
Yeah, and the effort was more than appreciated. Like, it took a lot of pictures.
Yeah, it definitely people ate that costume up. They were loving it. It probably didn't hurt that the guy was there too, right? It's just a good good day for Static Shock in general.
Yeah.
I'm upset that he had to pay money for that action figure. I think that's outrageous.
When he
was outlandish to
when he was
me.
there,
You just give him that thing. Yeah. We're not talking about a big full size figure. We're talking. I don't want to spit out what you paid, and I don't remember, but it's like a small. Like, give the man the figure. Come on.
Yeah, it's like a 6-inch figure. It was $12. When he bought the 3 of them when we was at the talking with the guy, and the guy was like, "All right, 38.52 or whatever the number was." He was like, "Even for the creator of it?" And then the guy was like, "Oh crap," and then and the guy was like, "All right, 33.50." Like gave him a little bit of a discount.
That's like a military discount. Come on, you're killing me.
A military discount.
Actually, when I say that always sounds kind of degrading. Sorry, I'll take that back. But I was like, at least give him one of them for free. You're killing me right now. But hey, you got to walk around in them. That's pretty fantastic. And I'm among those people that will I always just think of Static Shock. I never think of him as Static. It's Static Shock in my head. No, that's wrong. I can't help it. But what was it that other people were calling you by mistake? I can't
remember. Black Lightning.
Yeah, that's not a character I'm too familiar with. So the first time somebody said it, I was just like, "Oh, Static have a nickname? I don't." Static, that's already a nickname, isn't it? I don't.
Black Lightning is actually DC's first black. He was the first black superhero to have his own comic run. I think Green Lantern John Stewart is the first black superhero in DC Comics. I think so. I could be mistaken there.
Yeah, we'll have to Wikipedia for accuracy.
Yeah, but he's a great superhero. I have his issue number 1. I have put it up with the Static one. I don't have a Black Lightning action figure to really put with it. So Black Lightning also got called Shazam once. And
well, I mean, it's timely. It's timely.
Yeah. Shazam had just came out like the week previously, or something like that.
It was performing.
And I think I got called the Flash, like almost like a guy was like, "Oh, the Flash, Static,
the Flash, like Shock."
Yeah.
But either way, I think the costume got the amount of respect it appreciated. So, and then also it's worth noting that since the panel, I'm not a huge Prince guy. 2 or 3 songs that I appreciate, but I got on like a huge Prince kick for a couple weeks, and also because I played Michael Jackson's Moonwalker on the Genesis, like very similar time frame. So I got like a huge Prince and Michael Jackson kick, but somehow that evolved into me like searching for any videos of Dave Chappelle as Prince on YouTube. Which just worth your time. Just search Dave Chappelle Prince and just start
Oh, it's
watching.
great.
Always great. Always great.
Yeah, that's a true story too.
Oh, I just want to go watch. So it morphed from a Prince story, Prince kick into a Dave Chappelle kick, and that's all. It's all great. Everybody should have those kicks.
Yeah.
But hey, Comic-Con, it was great. We might have talked a little bit about it last time, but I don't remember you getting to share the story. And I certainly hadn't shared pictures. So here they are. A lot of great costumes there. Not a ton of Avatar love, but enough. It was good. Okay, so I interrupted. It was going to be a smooth segue, but I interrupted with some pictures. I think you wanted to mention some of your latest videos.
Yeah, since our last podcast, I've released 12 videos, I think.
Nice.
Some of the biggest ones or recent ones, Avengers Endgame came out, and
what's that?
And I'd give what's Avengers Endgame? That's just a small indie film,
Just
involving
some
time
things
travel.
some guys did.
Yeah, involving stuff. Yeah.
It's a biopic.
Yeah. But yeah, so that review's out there, and as a DC fan, I come to admit something, that I do love Endgame a lot, and I've mentioned that I think it is better than one of the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movies. I don't I still like each of those movies significantly more than Endgame, but Endgame is great. In terms of Avatar, I have a couple different Avatar videos out there. I have who is Suyin's father, if it's Sokka or not, and I give a very definitive answer to that. So you should definitely check that out. I was doing really well. It's over 1,000 views right now.
Very interesting one I had not thought of at all before you brought it up.
And then I have one about what drives Azula, really what drives her need for perfection. And that video came about, I wasn't even planning that video, but Aaron Ehaus, who is one of the head writers, or the head writer of Avatar Last Airbender, recently mentioned that he always envisioned Azula having a redemption arc, and that it would be way longer than Zuko's, and Zuko will be at her worst, at her lowest point. Zuko would be there for her, to guide her, to love her, to give her that love that he got from Iroh. So then I was thinking to myself, like, all right, why is it Zuko that would be the one to really give her back to the other side? And so I kind of break down what drives Zula's need for perfection is that she kind of equates some of her value to the disvalue that Zuko has in the eyes of their father. So that video's out there. And then
I would like to picture if Azula really had a redemption arc. You mentioned it would take much longer. Maybe kind of an old age, like sort of a 50s, 60s, 70s, like a beaten down Azula.
Yeah.
Like not like had several come to Jesus moments, but never kind of took any of them in, so to speak, and just gradually over time. But I don't know what would it be that turned her? Like what piece of old age wisdom after so many harsh things happen over life? What would that one little what straw would break the camel's back, so to speak? But I would be interested in an old Azula story just to see how it turned. That'd be fun.
That's fine. I think I would be like the opposite of that. Like I think Azula is so evil. Sometimes people try to make Azula the victim in some cases. Like, oh, she was abused too. Like I don't think she was that abused. I'm signing out of something. Or are you signing out of something?
No, it looks like you're signing out of something.
What the heck?
Well, I can still hear you. I just can't see you.
Oh. For some reason, like Venmo just popped up. I don't know why Venmo just popped up. Someone taking money from me?
I was going to say, you don't have to pay me anything. I'm here for fun. Hey, there you are.
Okay. All right. Sorry, you have to cut that out or not. Or
I don't know. I might leave it for the organic feel. It's hard to say.
Oh, yeah. So my point was, oftentimes people try to victimize Azula, saying she was abused. I mean, she was abused to a certain extent. I mean,
yeah, like bad parenting, obviously, but
yeah, one of the ways. There's many ways a person could get abused. It could be sexually, physically abused, or also neglect. Neglect is one of the leading causes of abuse. But then if you break all that down, like Azula only within neglect, Azula only kind of matches the wasn't loved aspect of that. But she still was loved by her mother. But anyway, long story short, I don't think she deserves like a full redemption arc. Like I would like her to do something heroic, like maybe die protecting Zuko, like just out of a gut instinct, and Zuko always being like, "See, I knew you had it in you." Like, so she wouldn't have a full redemption arc, which I don't think she's necessarily worthy of one, or I don't think it'll be in line with the character. But she would have a redemption arc that like the last thing she did was something noble.
I wouldn't mind. I always say, and I think I've said it before on the podcast, I'm totally okay with leaving kind of an air of mystery. But if there was going to be a start to this story that you've mentioned, maybe give us like we don't have to see, and she doesn't deserve a full redemption arc. But maybe give us like a seed of hope of like, hey, maybe she really could change, or maybe she's starting to turn over a leaf. Even if you don't dedicate a full story to like, hey, she's a saint now, or a martyr, or even, or, but give us a seed of hope, and then leave the rest to our imagination. I'd be okay with that. It sounds like a good story. I'd read it or watch it, preferably watch it because I'm kind of lazy.
And the only other video I'll mention, I have a bunch of videos out there right now. One pertaining to Avatar is, which I know we disagree on this, is the Fire Nation royal family versus the Lannisters from Game of Thrones. Which family is the most dysfunctional family? Keyword dysfunctional.
What's that video got view-wise? Because it seems, I can disagree all I want, but it seems like a good popular video topic. Did that get good turnout?
I don't know. I think it's at like 180 now. That Sokka Suyin's
Sokka baby daddy one
that took off.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Speaking of spoilers, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. But I know. Like spoiler. I mentioned I come to the conclusion that the Fire Nation royal family is more dysfunctional. They're not more messed up. The whole ancestors thing is far more messed up there.
There's more. I don't know. I think there's more redeeming characters in the Game of Thrones than that the Lannister family, and that probably helps. I think some of those characters are more redeeming, but could just be yeah. And that's probably what puts it over the edge. So I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. I don't know if redeeming's the right word either, but there's more characters that that are.
The thing is, even if you think about Tywin isn't necessarily evil, like especially towards his own family.
He's just a gifted military man. Absolutely, I agree. So
but the Fire Lord is like, no, I want to kill my son. It's like, no, I want to burn my son in the face because he won't stop begging for me to not burn him in the face.
I would still say I think the Lannister royal family, all things considered, has a lot more bad, weird stuff going on. But that also has to do with the maturity level of the content for the sake of viewers. So maybe not something that can be brought up in that conversation. A little unfair, I guess. Not something we're going to see out of the Fire Nation on Avatar. So
hopefully not.
Interesting video though, and I'm a little surprised it didn't do better just being topical, but that's fine. And then on that note, I don't know if you wanted to mention. I think you've got some Game of Thrones. Season 8 videos out as well.
Yeah, I didn't review their most recent episode. I thought it was fine. Actually, when I first watched it, I thought it was great, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, whatever.
Very similar. I'm feeling very similar. In the moment, it does a good job of kind of pulling the emotions out of you, but when you look in hindsight, not the biggest episode in the world. I agree. Not bad at all. Not what we're trying to say, but
the music was great. Love the music in that one.
But the visuals and the internet will support us. Lighten some of that stuff up, please. Oh my goodness. But I get why they do that as well in terms of video production quality. I'm sure there's great reasons for that, but in hindsight, maybe not the most impactful episode, but at the end, I think everybody was happy with it and got away. We're talking about episode 3. I guess we should clarify that because by the time this gets out, maybe we're pretty close to episode 4. But I do want to use that into a segue because between Endgame and Game of Thrones, first of all, it's fair to say that
Game of Thrones.
Endgame. What's funny is I keep wanting to call Endgame End War for some. I have no idea why, but I keep wanting to call it.
You sent me that. I was like, like End War.
And I don't know. The only thing I googled it because I got mad at myself for messing it up. The only thing called End War I can find is a Tom Clancy game that I would never play because it's not my type of game. So if I call it End War, I apologize. The internet was very respectful in social media of not spoiling Endgame. I'm sure there are people out there if you look or whatever, but in general, people are very respectful of that. The opposite
Yes.
for Game of Thrones. Nobody is ashamed
It is so true. It is so true.
It is, and I don't really get why, other than just the nature of television and wanting to be
I
involved
think
in the
that's what
water
it
cooler
is.
talk, and it just
Yes.
so there again, I kind of get it. I don't like it, but it does spawn this discussion of that you and I have a little bit of difference in that maybe the amount of weight that we put on spoilers. So I was hoping you would indulge me in just a few minutes of conversation, discussion, because I don't think that having something spoiled devalues an experience in almost any way. I will admit that the more and more I thought about this, I give a little bit of weight, like a very small percentage of something where, yeah, I don't want it to be spoiled. And I liken it to, the best example I could come up with are things like seeing your favorite band live versus listening to a disc recorded in studio meant for the radio, or like having the first edition of a card, like a first original print of a Yu-Gi-Oh or a Magic card, versus having another. Like, there is value, and I do appreciate to an extent, but spoilers, really, you could tell me what happened in Endgame right now, and I don't think it would impact how I viewed or enjoyed the movie at all on my first viewing. I don't know. I think we overreact to spoilers. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, well, I don't. Well, gosh,
you don't seem to compared to the rest of the internet.
But for me, there's a very important part of storytelling, especially in certain shows. There is the building suspense and the intention, and then there's what comes after that to break that. And if I know, we'll talk Game of Thrones here, because most of the people who are watching
it's already been spoiled. Yeah, everybody knows what happened.
That's true.
Through memes, if nothing else.
Yes, yeah. So before I watched the episode, if I already knew that Arya stabs a certain person, I watched the spoiler.
Very smooth. Very smoothly covered up. Well done.
Like that would break the tension of everything. Because before that, I thought, okay, anyone could die. Absolutely anyone could die. But once I knew that, I'd be like, oh well, now everything's fine. Like I don't have to worry about it. There's no more tension building going on. And if you take like a movie like The Sixth Sense, like if I knew already going into it that, oh, he's dead the whole time, like watching that movie is a very cerebral experience. Watching it twice. First time you go through it and stuff, and you get hit with that twist of like, oh, he sees dead people. Then you hear that twist of, oh, he sees dead people, and he's been the only person interacting with his character.
Spoiler
and
alert,
this character
Chris, God, don't drop those bombs on the internet like that. I'm just kidding.
And this character's been dead the whole time. So that's a mind-blowing experience. So then you watch it again, and you start to pick up little things like, oh, here's a clue, here's a clue, here's a clue. They've been telling me this whole time that he's dead, but I haven't noticed it. Like, I love movies that they kind of do a magic trick to you. Like, think about The Prestige. Like, if I know what's happening in The Prestige before going in there, like it ruins the trick. It ruins the magic trick. Like, spoilers is like ruining a magic trick.
That's
like,
actually if you fairly. I'm going to build on that, but that's still kind of in counter to your opinion. But it's a good comparison because some movies like Sixth Sense, The Prestige, those are pretty great examples here of. I personally struggle to enjoy those movies a ton upon any additional viewings because it's spoiled, or you've seen it, you know what happens. And in my head, those movies in and of themselves are kind of their own genre, I guess, their own. it's almost a gimmick when you're relying on some big, massive, scary. Gimmick's too harsh a word because it doesn't have to be.
No, Twist is a
Kind,
gimmick. I mean,
but
M. Night started to use that gimmick in every single movie, but he did have good movies to continue supporting that gimmick.
Yeah, and so I think, but on the other hand, so like in Game of Thrones, I knew what was going to happen generically, but I did not know how. And so even when, so your point is, I didn't really consider that I should have thought to myself, oh, at least I don't have to worry about Arya dying in this exact situation, in a couple places where she's cornered. That should have occurred to me. That's just me being dumb. It didn't at the time. But when she actually came, when the moment came, this is a testament to Game of Thrones quality, is that it was still so tense in how it happened. And that even after it happened, yes. I thought just for a second that maybe she's still dead. Like she might have still died. And it still hit me, I think, almost 99.9% as hard as it could have. I didn't really think about those previous moments. And that's a totally fair point. But a testament to Game of Thrones is that I knew what was going to happen in a generic sense. But still, when it was happening, like I was totally immersed. So that I would say that's a high testament to quality. And my argument for most very high quality movies, I'm sure that Endgame is as well. I'm not a huge Marvel fan. I'll see it at some point. That even when it gets spoiled to me and I see what happens because I watched your YouTube video, so yeah, I do know what happens. That's right. I watched the spoilers video. I believe that it's going to be a good enough movie that I'm not going to be bothered in the least bit by it. But I will agree to an extent that there are a number of movies and things out there that rely on it. Gimmick has too negative of a connotation, but rely on a big twist in a certain way that I'll give it to you. I go back to the band state. It's like watching your favorite band live, but if you can't do that, that doesn't have to devalue how much you appreciate that band or whatever. I don't know. Maybe the more I say that out loud, that may not be a great comparison, but it doesn't have to devalue appreciation for quality, I guess. But anyway, hey, by the way, your spoilers video, really good. Well done.
Gosh. I'm just thinking about all the things that got ruined. Could have been some great moments like involving Captain America and fighting.
But they're still going to be great. Yeah. And as much as I like to bash Marvel just because it's not my thing, is that there's still such high production, high quality, great storytelling. Like it's not going to bother me at all. Whereas, yeah, if I can't go back and rewatch The Sixth Sense for the first time, but in hindsight, like if I rewatch those movies again, even The Prestige is still a very good. I actually enjoy The Prestige more than I ever thought I would as a movie. It's not my kind of movie. You actually recommended that I watch it. I think you lent me the DVD even. I enjoy it more, but even on watching in hindsight, I was like, that okay, fine. So, yeah, all right, I'll give you that spoilers are very much more impactful in certain situations than others. But if you have a really good story, it's not going to bug me. If you do things well, do them right.
Yeah, and the great thing about The Prestige is that it watching a second time reinforces one of the themes of the film is that, like, competition drives men to do crazy things.
And it is crazy.
So then when you rewatch it, like...
that across.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that maybe... the first time you watch anything or experience anything, and you just mentioned it with Game of Thrones, any experience the first time versus doing it the second time, that first time almost deserves to be in its own category. Like it really is a different. It's a different experience versus every subsequent.
Depending on the value of the film. A movie can get either better or can get worse. I think I watched Avengers twice within 2 days. The second time I watched it, certain aspects I won't say got way worse, but got worse for me. And the really good aspects stayed the same. And so it brought that down a little bit. But other movies like Batman Begins, the first time I watched Batman Begins, also because it was a weird situation for me watching Batman Begins. I waited until it came out on DVD because Batman and Robin hurt me so bad that
as it should have.
I just thought that Batman movies weren't good. So then I go and rent it. I come back. I get in a car wreck. which wasn't a big car wreck, but I was like, whatever. So later that night, I'm like, all right, I'll pop this in, and I watched it. So I wasn't in the right state of mind to watch Batman Begins, but after
Some
watching, I was like, oh
other
yeah, it's
things
a good
going
movie.
on in your life at that exact moment.
Yeah, and then I watched it. I saw it on sale at a pawn shop for like $5. I was like, don't want to buy this, and I said no. I drove away. Then I'm like, no, I'll buy it. I drove back. I bought it. I watched it that night, and I thought this movie is really good. And then since then, I watched it like every month. And then I was like, this movie is really freaking good. It's like the best superhero movie I've ever seen until The Dark Knight came out. Um, and so some movies get better with more additional viewings, and some of them get worse.
There's probably I'm looking for the right word, maybe sort of an increasing dichotomy with anything. The more you watch it, yeah, a bigger your appreciation for the good stuff gets greater and greater and greater. But then you also notice more and more details. They're like, how to change this or that, or that's not that important or whatever. It probably there's a like a scientific theory or something to, not a scientific theory, but I'm thinking of like sports teams. So you're always more aware of like your sports team's highs and lows. Like you always feel stronger about their strengths and worse about their weaknesses because of that sort of just familiarity with it. And I imagine that being the same way with movies on repeated viewings. Like you always feel a little better about the good things, a little worse about the weaknesses, the more experience you have with it. But also a KU fan, so on the football side, I'm really on one side of that. It's just keep feeling worse and worse all the time. But hey, you know what? I will agree that the more I thought about the topic, even prior to discussing, I thought, I give some weight to spoilers, but in the end, I feel like I'm usually able to see through that to a quality end product. As I feel, I guess, is the point of the argument, most people that really like movies and film or like a certain movies, 5 or 10 years from now, the spoilers probably won't bother them. So that's probably my biggest point. Great talk. Thanks for indulging my spoiler conversation. And with that, I have no great segue other than we've been talking for like 40 minutes already. Let's talk about episode 3 of, hey, it's good discussion. Nothing wrong with that. Let's talk about episode 3 of season 2 of Avatar, The Last Airbender. So it's been a while. So in case you were away, we just came off of one of my favorite personal episodes. So the first 2 episodes, gosh, I don't even remember what episode 1 of season 2 is. But on episode 2 of season 2 is the Cave of Two Lovers.
The Avatar State.
Yeah. So they're in this sort of earthbending, let's call it like a military outpost, for lack of a better term. I don't think it ever receives a name. And a very well-intentioned but not intelligent general tries to draw Aang into the Avatar State to control him as like a weapon of war, and it doesn't go so well. And so then they start traveling to Omashu, and they have to go through what is called the Cave of Two Lovers. And whether or not it's a good episode, maybe debatable, but it's one of the funnier episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I highly recommend watching it. But anyway, they make it through these caves, these essentially an underground death trap, and now they come out on the other side, and they arrive at Omashu. And so, one of my favorite, it actually starts. I'm going to lead up by saying I'm not really big on this episode, so I apologize if I have negative tones. But it does lead off with one of my favorite parts when they're looking at Omashu from a distance, and Aang says something on the. They can see it's under Fire Nation rule. Now they can see the banners hanging and all the Fire Nation swag. I don't know what the war appropriate term is. And Aang just says something like, Omashu always seemed so untouchable, and they don't make a big deal out of it, but they do. But Sokka does say, I guess Ba Sing Se is the last great untouched Earth Kingdom city or something like that, where it's kind of stronghold. Thank you. The last great Earth Nation stronghold, or the last untouched Earth Nation stronghold. And it's just really brief, but I think what they're trying to convey to us is the war is not going well. Like it's turning quickly. We're kind of removed from like on the ground battles and stuff as we're watching this TV show. So they're just trying to convey, hey, Fire Nation is on the move. Things are happening, and it's not good. So I really like that first scene. But
it's like we were just here like last season. And one of the things I absolutely love about that scene is Katara and Sokka's like, well, Aang, you can go find another Earthbender master. Like, there's plenty of them all around. He's like, this isn't about finding Earthbending master. It's about finding my friend.
Yeah. Oh,
And I just
it's worth punching in there. That's the reason they're going to Omashu specifically, is to find Boomy to teach him earthbending. I don't know if I threw that in there or not.
Okay. And I just love reiterating, like, one, how old Aang really is, and two, that like he has a really deep friendship with Boomy. Yeah, and like you said, I just love seeing how far reaching this war has gotten.
And like I said, it's very brief, but I think they do a nice job of it. And the Earth Kingdom just has kind of a defensive feel about it. You just envision giant fortresses and sort of untouchable, big vast landscapes. Well, if the Fire Nation can conquer those, then I think it does a nice job of conveying that things aren't going very well. But they do, so they're set on rescuing Boomy, or making sure that Boomy's okay, or finding him. And then Sokka maybe almost accidentally suggests that maybe he's dead. Katara says he's dead. Yeah. Good work. And so they use a secret passage to get into the city. And if you recall, in season 1, they had to go through these guards in disguise. And so they get to the secret passage. It's like a sewage tunnel. And Sokka's like, why didn't we know about the secret passage last time? And then Aang cranks it open, and just all this nasty sewer sludge just like pours out all over. And I just really enjoy the comedy of that scene. And I'm a little disappointed that Cabbage Guy does not make an appearance in this episode. I was kind of waiting on him, but he's moved on from Omashu.
Yeah, he's moved on. Yeah.
So they crawl through the secret passage, and then very important crux point of this episode is Katara and Aang are bending stuff out of the way so they're staying clean. Sokka's just getting covered in sludge, and he comes out covered in sludge, and then he's got these little, I forget what they're called.
Like leeches? Like they're like pentapop.
Penta somethings. They're penta somethings. Yeah. I forget their name, but they have 5 legs. They're like little 5-legged octopus.
That must mean they have 5. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like little 5-legged octopus, and they're like stuck to Sokka, and it's weird at the time, and it feels out of place, but it does play a big role because they like get him to come off of his face, and it leaves little like pock marks on him, and then he's making noise, and it attracts the guards, and they throw him off by being like, "Oh, he's got pentapox, and it's very contagious and maybe deadly." And he's one of the guards is like, "Didn't your cousin Chang die of pentapox?" And then they all run away to wash their hands and burn their clothes. And so, like I said, it seems weirdly out of place. Like I'd kind of forgotten what happened in this episode, just a little bit. And so at the time I was watching, it's like, what the heck? But it does play a role.
The thing is, there's a couple of random small things that actually push the plot forward in this episode.
Yes,
one
some
is
strange things.
Yeah. So then they meet up with wait, is that what happened?
No,
you keep going.
It sort of cuts away to the Fire Nation family, and it's Mai's family. Mai. I always say the wrong one.
I always say Mai, but I'm sure it's May.
It might be May. I always say
I'm pretty
Mai
sure
as
it's
well.
May because I saw some memes out that it's gonna be May.
Right. I always want to say Mai, but you're right, it's May. So her and her family are walking along, and she's complaining how boring it is. And this is only important because Aang essentially saves them from an attack from the Resistance. Like, they're just going to die. The Resistance is going to dump some boulders on this family. That is currently the governor.
They're ready. This is
of the
this
province.
assassination going on.
Yeah, they're going to die. And Aang saves them, but then naturally they see Aang, and they call out. They think he's the Resistance and that he was the one trying to kill him, and they chase him through the streets. And that's important because we kind of get introduced to May a little bit more, get an in-depth look at May that we haven't had yet. And then B, because they end up falling, gosh, I forget if they fall into like a sewer drain or if they're just earthbended down.
They're earthbended down.
Into a Resistance hideout. And so they meet the Resistance there. And that's where they discover that they have this massive group of earthbending people that can't get out of the city. or at least say they can't. They're earthbenders. I feel like they could have found a way. Personally, that was a disappointing piece of the episode to me. Like, your earthbenders just tunnel, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stumbles
One
into the resistance.
of the things I do love the introduction to May. Like, she's just so bored with everything, and like she's so Daria. If you ever watched that show on MTV, like in the
no,
90s.
I'm not very familiar with that one.
She's like an angsty, dry humor teenager.
I mean, if she's like May, yeah, I can get the.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah.
And then I just love how like May attacks Aang, like, and she looks lethal immediately right off the bat. And then like after Aang gets away, she was like, bored again. Like, it says so much about that character.
I think that she is I really enjoy her as a character in the angsty way and kind of this crush that she has on Zuko that they allude to immediately. I've never been fond of May as I don't know how to say it, as like a fighter. I know I'm not trying to be mean just because she's not a bender, but I feel like I don't really see the motivation or anything around her that suggests that she should be so good at her particular brand of martial arts. Like, I don't like that she seems to be sort of supernaturally good at this thing without being a bender. Like, I'm not a big fan of that. It seems tacked on, kind of.
So her backstory, I think I read this in an interview with creators, and they said like May is so skilled at throwing knives because she was so bored that she taught herself how.
I guess that suggests that all angsty, bored teenagers should have talents that don't involve Fortnite, and I just don't know if I believe that. But
Fortnite doesn't exist in this world.
It's a minor gripe because I really like May as a character, and she throws in some nice balance that not a lot of other characters really do. It's just one of those things where she seems too sort of supernaturally good at her craft, and I'm not a fan of that. And the same probably could be argued of like Ty Lee later in the episode, but yeah, maybe both those characters kind of I could have the same art, but nothing against the overall characters. They're both very entertaining. So anyway, Aang and the group finds out there's this resistance, and they're going to try to help them escape from the city by pretending they all have pentapox. And so they all get their suckers and get the pentapox look. And they're like in a big, just massive zombie-ish crowd, like exiting the city, being escorted out of the city. And it's very clever. And Sokka-e, it's got Sokka just written all over it. And naturally, he's the one coordinating it. So that gets them out of the city. But Aang wants to stay to try to find Bumi. Like, that's the real reason that he went into the city. And so I'm kind of trying to remember what sequence of events helps him find, like, how he lands on Bumi.
So what?
He finds Flopsy.
So what happens is, so he does find Flopsy, which
easier to find than Bumi.
I love I love getting that Flopsy again. I love when like they can't find Bumi and he goes back to Katara so they can't find him. Like, they're all sad, and then like Katara hugs Aang, and then Sokka hugs Flopsy, like, right on the face.
And it doesn't seem jokey. It seems like a sincere hug.
No, it's a legit like, Flopsy. Oh, I know your owner is missing right now.
Come here, big guy.
What I was talking about before about like these small little things pushing the plot forward. If you notice, like when they're formulating this plan, Momo is like really bothering Aang. Like, he's like tugging on his shirt and everything. Like, that goes on for a minute, and then Aang is fine. Like, Momo, I'll feed you later. I gotta find Bumi. So because Momo is very hungry, he goes in search of food, which lands him in that Fire Nation family
in the
animal
gubernatorial manner, or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, yeah. And the baby like sees him and just like wants to play with him, but like in a way that babies play with little small dogs, pretty much just hurting them. And eventually the baby gets all the way. Like, this is a very dangerous.
This house is not baby proof at all, and shame on that family for just leaving a baby unattended in a time of war.
Yeah, and Omashu is pretty big. Like, so somehow this baby's traveled, at least a quarter mile by himself.
Thanks to these giant mail chutes and things, or delivery chutes. Yeah. And so Shame on the Fire Nation family. And
So
I
then
kind of forget how
the
he gets out of town. He's crawling. He's chasing after Momo. I forget how that translates to him getting out of town. Does he end up in a bag or something like that? Well, I can't even remember.
baby.
Anyway, he ends up out of town, and the leader of the resistance, or the presumed leader, is like, "Hey, we did a head count," and they're like, "Oh no, is somebody missing?" He's like, "No, we had an extra." And the little baby comes crawling out. And it's just kind of a lighthearted moment, even though they just kidnapped a child. Yeah. And no, I didn't think of that's another weird crux point, like something that had to be strangely tacked on to tie the whole story together and make the plot go round, is that Momo had to be hungry. And so
Exactly, yeah.
at least they built it in a little bit with the nagging and tugging and stuff. They didn't just like show him like jump off on. They built it up a bit, so good for them. There's a touching moment where they're like, yeah, he's cute now, but wait till he becomes a Fire Nation general or something like that. And then Katara's like, does that look like the face of a killer? And just, again, small, tiny, brief, but just raising a constant, everlasting question of people and humanity and inherently good, nature versus nurture. So, again, very brief but very deep. One of those that we don't appreciate till now when we're older. That probably didn't mean too much to me, or wouldn't have as a younger person. So that's touching. And then there is a trade proposed.
Well, before that, so before that, Azula knows that she needs Azula knows that she needs a smaller force to go after her brother, her uncle. So she kind of disbands that huge military force she had, and instead she wants a very small team. So she goes and finds Ty Lee, who is her old friend from the Fire Nation Royal Academy School for Girls. And she knows how skilled she is. And so she recruits her to her team, although Ty Lee is like this real bubbly girl, and she's like, oh, I find my calling, Azula, and it's at the circus.
Oh,
and
I love Azula's this line.
What line are you referring to?
When she's like, but I'm happy here. My aura has never been pinker. And Azula's just pinker. Like, I'll take your word for it. And in my head, I'm like, Azula's... as an adult, that sounds dirty. As a child,
and Azula's like being like really nice, like which just goes to the whole manipulative, thing that Azula does. Like she's like, all right, well, I won't get in the way of your calling, and she just leaves. She's like, oh well, first I think I'll catch a show.
And then
so then she watches her show. Like, yes, yeah, you can already tell that there's like backstory with them, like they have history together. And so as Ty Lee is doing her show at the circus, like Azula is is demanding that the ringleader like put the net on fire, release all the animals, and eventually, she goes back to after Ty Lee does her show successfully, I assume. Ty Lee says like, "Oh, I think the universe is giving me strong hints that I need a career change," which like that's not even
pleasantly.
So there's two ways you could think of how she changed her mind. Either she was so threatened by Azula that she felt like she needed to go with her. I don't think that's it, because she's still very bubbly towards Azula. I mean, that could be it. Or she got so much crap from her ringleader, who's like, listen, I can't have the Fire Nation princess coming here every freaking day. And she's only here for you, so you're fired. Like, go figure out what else you want to do. I think that's more so what happened.
You're deeper than me, because I just took it on the surface the first way, but what you just said does make quite a bit of sense. Like, please rescue my animals and get out of my tent.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. So then they need to recruit May, and they go to Omashu, and they meet with May and her family. I love May's like the first thing that May says to her, like she bows to her, says, "Please tell me you're here to kill me."
Oh, it's so class. And it's just an air of dark brooding that we don't. It's definitely a different kind of dark brooding than Zuko, and her character adds a brand new dimension, as does Ty Lee's in a little bit of a way, but there's some other bubbly characters and stuff. So, but I'm a big fan of May, what she brings. just not a fighting style.
So then they discuss the trade for King Boomy for for the baby, and Zula's like, May's gonna handle it. You guys just sit there because you've made a mess of this already. Like, it says a lot that this like 14-year-old girl is coming in. She's like, you know what? You're ruining everything. In fact, I'm renaming Omashu New Ozai in honor of my father.
Which is the lamest name for a city ever. Oh my goodness. So many opportunities.
Yeah, you don't have to call it. You don't have to. One thing, you don't have to call it New Ozai. There's not a city called Ozai already.
Yeah, I have not seen that one on the map yet. Maybe it's out there somewhere, but ugh. Whatever. Yeah. It's poor naming convention, that's for sure.
So
they just kind of take over.
Yeah. So during their trade talk exchanges, Azula's pretty much sure she put May in charge, but she's in charge. She's like, oh, why would we trade a powerful earth-being king for a baby? And even King Boomy in the back is like, I don't know. Like, he's...
When they drop him down, it's just like, hi, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, I love Boomy.
He is fantastic.
So then they pretty much call off the trade. And then they have a pretty great fight. You see Tylee and really what she can do. Not only is she an acrobat, but she can chi block. And they do a good job of like not using exposition for this. Like when, if you're watching a movie or something, like they would have, when Azula meets Tylee, she would have mentioned like, oh yeah, you remember that, all those years of you chi blocking and stuff, I could really use your skills. Like they would have detailed that out in dialogue. But here, just like, no, she does it and you get it immediately what it's doing. Like Katara can't bend the water, just kind of loses the life out of it.
That's one of those things that probably meant way less to me the first times that I watched this. But since this 3DS game I'm playing is built around, like, the bad guys are just chi blockers, although they don't use any type of martial artistry to do so. They use machines. But it means way more now. Like, when I watch it this time, like, oh, she's chi blocking. And, I always knew it, but I don't know. It's just a fun, hey, that's the origin of chi blocking in this story, at least. That's pretty exciting. Although I would still argue, again, I know that that's why Azula went to these people, but they still seem like they're too good at their crafts almost. But whatever, it's a minor detail to two characters that I enjoy.
I mean, all these kids are amazing at what they do, except for Zuko. Like, Zuko seems pretty basic.
Yeah, like, where's all the other normal kids at? Where's the basic people at? Is it just Zuko? Even I would say the same for Jet. Like, he's too good at his thing. We need some more normal people, normal characters. But
you need kids fighting like this,
right? You need some kids that instead of like firebending. Instead of like firebending with like artistry, they're just like shooting a stream of fire and just like spinning a circle like you do in Grand Theft Auto when you get the flamethrower. You just spin and burn everything. Just some kids doing that stuff.
Yep. You ever watch two teenage girls fighting? Like, especially in the hood, there's this move called the helicopter where it's just like this
just coming over the top.
I don't want to do too much. I might hit something.
Yeah, but it's like a big windmill over the top kind of deal. I would say that I've seen enough videos of people fighting in McDonald's that I have seen that move. And I know exactly what you're talking about. But anyway, yeah, we need some more basic characters, like important characters with basic level skill. We need those people. But yeah.
I mean, there's Sokka.
There's always Sokka, you skillless fool. No, just kidding, Sokka. But yeah, they're doing a good job of showing Azula manipulating May, essentially into sort of giving up her brother in a sense. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
That's her baby brother we're talking about. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna keep the king. You keep my baby brother. It's fine. And then, and then a fight ensues, probably under the assumption that they're gonna win, and get the baby brother back. Seems like a brave assumption.
Or that they know that the good guys aren't.
Yeah, maybe. You know what? I don't know if they know that yet about.
That's true, because you're dealing. In fact, no, that's a good. I redact my previous point because they're about to kill them a second ago with bolting rocks.
It's true. So as far as they know, Aang was just trying to kill them. So, But anyway, just banking on winning the fight. But it's a little. it's not the greatest fight we see, but it's a pretty interesting fight. And in the end, Aang has the opportunity to rescue Boomy, and then Boomy essentially, I forget the word, but Boomy is explaining how there's positive and negative
Jin.
Jins for attacking and defending, and how the Jin associated with earthbending is the act of waiting, not doing anything essentially, but waiting for the right moment to strike. And so
yes, it is called Nutrajin. Oh yeah, the ability to just wait and strike for the right moment. Fun fact, not for the show, but for me, when we used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, I called my because different decks, you had a zombie deck, other people had different decks. I had like a very self-made custom deck that I called my Nutrajin deck, which is pretty much just me stopping people from being able to attack until I was ready to attack. Like I'll pretty much make it to where no one could do anything.
So it's a Jinzo deck?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. Way to
Play
go,
with,
Joey Wheeler. Or
oh yeah,
Weevil, I think is who it belonged to originally. If I remember.
No, it was Joey Wheeler because there's
well,
no
he got it from
Weaver,
Weevil though. I think he got it from Weevil. I think I might be screwing that. I don't necessarily care to go back and rewatch those.
Weevil was a bug guy. He had bugs.
Yeah, but this is the second time. This is not on the ship. This is the next season.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not Weevil. It's this guy who claimed to be a psychic, I think, because he had a bunch of like small brothers and sisters, but he was really cheating. He had his small brothers and sisters like looking at Joey's deck from afar and then telling them what was in his hand.
I think you're right. All right, you keep talking. I'm going to Google that and find out that guy's name. It's going to bother me.
Yeah, I forget what his name was.
It's going to bug me, so I'm going to have to find out. But I'll
so
let you narrate for a moment.
So I always named... Okay. So I always named my deck after... Not my dick, but I'm sorry. Nutrajin. After this.
Whoa! Did you tell your wife about this?
Waits to attack for the right moment. Anyway,
damn it, Chris! I didn't want to have to edit this episode.
No, keep that in. So
keep that in or keep that out.
You can keep it in. Doesn't matter.
You're darn right. Keep it. I'm not. This is all beautiful.
Yeah, so then they get into the big fight. Boomy tells him like, "Oh, hey, you need someone who sits and waits and listens." And Boomy's pretty much like, "Hey, I'm gonna just roll back to my prison or wherever," because Boomy can bend without just with his eyes, just with his head. He doesn't use arms.
That part's pretty good in its own right when he's like, "They didn't cover my face."
Yeah, exactly.
That was a good moment as well.
And this moment is paid off, like a season later. So that's really good, knowing that Boomy was smart to just be like, I'm just gonna sit and wait. Like what good is taking over a city and there's nobody there? Like you're not like your goal was to oppress people, but they're no longer oppressed. They're like free to. I mean, they're somewhat free. Sure, you took their land from them, but they're fine. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. Like now, Aang knows what type of earthbending master he needs to find. He has that kind of stuck in his head. And then Aang does return. Boom. I forgot the little boy's name. He returns the baby to the family. And Tom Tom, that's his name.
Which is not a good Fire Nation name for an adult. Like, can you imagine adult Fire Nation General Tom Tom? Like, that's not going to stick.
Maybe that's his nickname.
I hope it is.
I'm going to say his real name is...
I can't really remember what his name
Tamazin.
is. That sounds
It's Tom Tom.
Better. Espa Roba from Yu-Gi-Oh! By the way, episode 59. Espa Roba. Good call. Good call. Sorry, but no, the Aang does give the baby back, and I mean that's consistent with his behavior earlier in the episode and what we'd expect from Aang. But I think what's most important here, two things. First, Aang knows that Boomy's safe, and you kind of get that impression like, all right, Boomy knows what he's doing. He can take care of himself. He's gonna be fine. So you feel good, but then Aang doesn't have a teacher, and they address that at the end. Is Boomy's like, your teacher's going to be somebody who knows how to sit and wait, or sit and listen, or sit and wait for the right moment to attack, or something like that. But yeah, Aang still doesn't have an earthbending teacher, so that's the biggest disappointment that we're leaving with here, I think. that's pretty much it. That's the whole
Yep,
episode right there.
yeah. That is the episode. That's a wrap.
I will say, it feels like there's a lot of important stuff that happens in this episode, but I don't know that it necessarily like ties together into the cleanest or most interesting story or anything. But I'll let you give your ratings first, and then I'll talk about my opinions on it. Oh,
All
hey,
right. So
I didn't mean
first,
that. Wow, I'm just messing up all over the place. Here we go.
audiovisual 7.5. I think it was fine. The most impressive thing was definitely the fight and the chase between Azula and Aang. Like Azula doing the blue fire, like it was like right on there. Really love seeing that. But other than that, there wasn't anything really amazing. So 7.5 out of 10 there. As for story, 7.5 out of 10. I mean, to me, there wasn't that much. The most important thing of this episode was that, hey, Aang, you gotta go learn earthbending from somebody else. It's not me. And I'm fine. You know, everything's good. I mean, we did get introduced to Mei and Ty Lee, so that was a good story wise. So really, probably more so memorable wise, which is why I give memorable an 8 out of 10. We did meet two new, I think, great characters in Mei and Ty Lee. I really got to see their relationship with Azula, and I think this time around for some reason I really enjoyed Mei a lot more than than I remembered. So that brings the weighted average to a 7.6 out of 10.
If I thought harder, I'd probably adjust my ratings more based on what you just said. But overall, they're pretty close. I docked audiovisual a little bit.
Yeah,
There's outside of the fight, there's not really much to look at or listen to or anything. Nothing negative.
Seven's good. I almost went with 7.
Yeah, it's just there's nothing that special or exciting about the audiovisual there. The story, I kind of tied those things into the story of, we meet Mei and Ty Lee because we're developing this plot of Azula pulling a group together. So put it in memorable, put it in story, whatever. There are very important kind of larger plot pieces that happen in this episode, but like I said, they don't really tie together all that well as an individual episode in the story. So maybe I should have flipped those around and weighted them a little differently. But the point is that important things happen. Maybe not my favorite episode overall. I like meeting Ty Lee and Mei, and I also really I mentioned a couple of moments in there that were sort of deep but fleeting moments, like when they're talking about the baby, what's it going to be like when he grows up, or hey, Omashu will seem very untouchable. There's some very sort of impactful things.
Yeah.
Put them under story, put them under memorable, whichever. One or the other deserves to be a little short because it's an okay episode.
We're close.
Yeah, very close. And pretty low-ish on both of our lists overall.
Yeah.
But not in like that bot. Like there's kind of a clear cut where it goes from like, all right, these are just average episodes to those ones that we just don't like. So certainly not falling in there.
Yeah.
Not a bad episode. Kind of interesting. Definitely worth watching just for those tidbits we mentioned. But it's a 7.5 kind of episode, and I think that fits. It is a good fit. And hey, there's Mei and Ty Lee. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about this. That was pretty good discussion of this episode that is mostly leading to bigger and better things. It's a vehicle. Not one of those that you can pick up and put anywhere because it has a very pertinent point where it's at in the larger series, getting us to the next few episodes. But again, probably not something I would pick out to watch or anything like that. So, good episode. Back in Omashu. Always nice to see Boomy again. That's got to count for something. And I don't know about you, but I've got the DVDs, so that's disc 1 already for me. They only put 3 episodes on each DVD. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know why that bothers me, but I hate seeing the odd number of episodes on the episode selection screen. It really bothers me. But yeah, I think we will be back in 2 weeks. I will not be available next week, so I'll be in Chicago. And I should probably spend more time making my house not a disaster. But in the meantime, catch up on Chris's videos. For heaven's sake, watch Game of Thrones right away, because if you don't, it will be spoiled. and apparently nobody wants that. People won't spoil Endgame, but I couldn't believe the disparity. There should be a same amount of respect there, but regardless.
Well, the thing is, people might not have time to go and take 4 hours out of their day within a certain time frame to go see a movie, but everyone has time to watch Game of Thrones for an hour and a half.
Game of Thrones. find a friend, steal his HBO Go. Thanks, Chris. And watch that movie. Watch that episode. This is as close to like keeping up with a TV show as I've ever been. Like me and Heather, we're never on top of things. We're always a few years behind. So to actually like be up to date,
part of
and, like,
the
when the water,
conversation.
Yeah, like when the water cooler. But I work in a place where it's not. I don't know. It's not insanely popular, so there's like a small group of us that got together like, oh my god, you see that? Yeah. And then everybody else is looking at us like, what are you guys talking about? Crazy high fantasy nonsense again, dragons and magic and stuff. But yeah, no, it feels good to actually be caught up on time with anything at all whatsoever. But yeah, so we'll be back in 2 weeks. Watch Chris, I'm sure you'll put up reviews of the next episode as well in between. Of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Any movies
have a
on your
couple more
radar?
Avatar videos.
Any movies on your radar this week?
Well, actually, no, not this week, not tomorrow.
I can't think of any.
Yeah, I
big
don't have
ones,
anything.
Any other big ones on there?
Nothing wanted.
Who would want to compete right now?
No one wanted to come out the week after Avengers Endgame.
No, I would not want to come out the same month. I don't think.
The week after that, there's something. Pokemon comes out May 10th, so I'll see that.
I really do want to see Pokemon. I'm a huge fan of Ryan Reynolds, and it looks like they handled that movie in a nice kind of tongue-in-cheek way that I'm going to find humorous. I do not want to see. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know what you're about to say.
I hope you agree with me. Sonic looks horrible. It looks terrible.
Well,
even the segment with Jim Carrey, I was like, that ain't. It's like they tried to bottle up Jim Carrey. Like, hey, just be weird, but not like. Funny weird, just be boring weird. I don't. It looks horrible. And they did release a statement today that they are going to redesign Sonic because the internet complained.
That is. You know how bad that is.
That's not
like this
good.
movie comes out. This movie comes out in like 6 months. That's a lot of work.
This was the trailer. This is the official trailer, and the internet exploded because he looked like a middle-aged, like just got off of work Sonic.
Yeah. Now
you have to redesign him in the entire movie 6 months out. Is that what you said? That sounds right.
I think so. They should just go ahead and push it back.
I'd go ahead and just cancel it because it's gonna be garbage.
No, it's too late. They've already invested a lot of money into it. You got to do it.
I love Jim Carrey. I'll watch Jim Carrey's worst movies, and I love Series of Unfortunate Events with Jim Carrey. I'll forgive anything. He's going to do his best, and this movie is still going to be absolute garbage. The trailer just did nothing for me other than make me really, really mad. But I do want to see Pokemon. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I probably won't
I'll take my daughter to go see that.
Yeah, it's a Ryan Reynolds movie you can take your daughter to. How exciting is that? How unusual. But all right, we'll be on the lookout for those reviews in the near future in between this and the next one. And hey, Chris, nice to talk to you again. It's been a while.
Yep.
All right. I'll see you next week or 2 weeks. Later.